So please interact. What I'd love you to do is go to your workbook and go to page 24, please. And what you would see is the Launch Your Brand worksheet. Just if anyone has any questions about where to find that, just let me know. If everyone's got that worksheet, just give me a thumbs up in the camera. That'd be great. Amazing. All right, team. So I'm going to give you some context for Launch Your Brand first, because I think what we struggle with as artists is looking at other people doing marketing and think that that's what we're supposed to do. And because we don't like what they're doing, we land up not doing anything at all, right? And what I'm trying and what we want you to do is to be yourself and do your thing and know that that is what people are really looking for. They're not really looking for someone else's watered down version of what you thought was the right thing to do, you know? So we're all trying to work these little things out. So here's what I'd like to give context around Launch Your Brand. So I said before the break that this is from the book My Story Brand, which is by Donald Miller. And it's a very, very great book. I mean, it's highly recommend the book for every business owner, whether you have a brand or a personal brand or a company brand, doesn't matter, podcast brand, it's all valuable. And the thesis behind My Story Brand is that rather than you being the hero of the journey, you are just the guide. I say just the guide, like it's not an important role in the whole story, right? The guide is probably the most important role in the story because the guide has done it before. Unfortunately, what tends to happen is when we look at marketing that has been done around, we see people being the hero all the time, and we're like, that's gross. I don't want to do that. And we think that that is marketing. So Donald Miller has allowed us artists and us entrepreneurs and us creators to have a way to launch our brand in a way that actually allows us to be the perfect guide to a bunch of people who you're going to make heroes, and you're going to be the guide on their journey. Does that make sense, team? Does it make sense? Yeah? Great. So what we're going to do is we're going to focus on this. We're going to focus on who your people are first, right? You're going to focus on who they are first, not like how you're going to help them first, but who they are, and then what problems are they having. So let's go to what problems they're having right now, right? Because those problems are caused by something. They're doing something which is creating those problems. They're trying to fix something and they're creating more problems for themselves because someone has told them the wrong way to do things. That is the villain. I'm going to give you context for what's on this sheet. Okay. So your audience or your people are dealing with a bunch of problems, and there is a villain that has told them to do things a certain way, and you disagree with that person or that entity or that way of, and you draw a line in the sand and say, this is not how we do things, right? And you say that this villain is creating this external problem inside you. And you can see these problems everywhere, which creates internal conflict, which you're thinking about inside you. And it's just philosophically wrong. And I'll break each of those down. I'm just going to give you a brief idea of what each of these boxes are. All right. So you have a bunch of people, your audience, who are trying to solve a problem, right? They are trying to solve a problem and they've tried to fix this problem before, but they've dealt with other people and these people have given them the wrong direction. Those people have given them the wrong direction. And we want to differentiate ourselves from that villain. Am I making sense, team? If you have questions around that particular point, I'd love to be able to answer something, because I see a lot of I see a lot of faces that are like, where is he going with this? And if that's the case, maybe it's a question I can address. Yeah, I can give you an example. So, natural medicine. Actually, I'm going to give you an example. Karen's example. Um, her villain could be the pharmaceutical industry, right? Is that correct, Karen? Is that what you wrote? Yeah. So the pharmaceutical industry. So people are trying to solve problems, which is, MS conditions, symptoms that they're facing, different symptoms. They don't even know, might not even know or label it as MS at the start. So they Karen, what they want is all those different problems to go away. So they're having all these different symptoms that they can feel, and this villain, which is the pharmaceutical industry, is giving them tablets to just suppress the fact that it's there, right? Because it's suppressing the fact that it's there, and it's creating external problems, which is you have other issues that are more pills for, right? Those are external problems which you can see. And then they're creating internal conflicts, which are the conflict is that, am I going to do this for the rest of my life? These internal conversations you're having with yourself, the person is having with themselves. So Karen can actually understand and empathize with their internal conflict because she's been there, and she can have those conversations, right? And she can say, these are the things I know you're internally conflicted by, because this villain, it's not your fault, because there's this villain, right? And it is just philosophically wrong because you just believe that this is the way it's been done. Your parents believe that. It just, no, you thought this was the duck's nuts or the bee's knees. I'm making stuff up, but is that example, how does that example fit, everyone? Is that clear? Yeah. Okay. So I'm just going to give you that example. I'm going to go down, right? And this person meets the guide, meets Karen, right? And Karen expresses empathy by saying all these things that she's already said, and by saying, by the way, I have dealt with this, and this is my story now. Like, her story doesn't come at the start. Hey, I'm Karen, check me out, I've gone through all this stuff. It's not there. It is, hey people, I know you're having these problems because of this villain that has created all these issues for you. I'm a guide that could offer you a solution, and I express empathy. And then the most important thing that your audience needs to know, when they're going when they feel your empathy and you empathize with them, and you can talk about these internal conflicts and all this stuff, that they're like, wait a minute, I thought I was the only one. I thought it was just in my head, right? When you talk to them about that, you express empathy. The next thing you got to do is give them authority. Say, by the way, I've helped people like you. I've got these results. I've got this award. I've written this book. I've done this talk, right? And then that's where the authority piece comes. Now, you'll notice that usually in marketing, you'll see that authority piece come first. Like, even when people talk about their guests and all that kind of stuff, they talk about, oh, this guest has done all these authority pieces, New York Times bestseller, whatever the authority piece is, rather than, hey, let me empathize with you first before throwing some credentials your way, right? Because that's a shift in marketing, right? It's a shift in marketing that I think we all need to, like, it just needs to land a little bit. So this person meets Karen, who's a perfect guide because she expresses empathy and demonstrates authority, and she has a plan. Her plan is her method. Her plan is a 5-step method that's going to cure people from MS. In these 5 steps, this is how I do it. This is the plan. And Karen challenges them to take action. Now, the action could be, hey, if you're having this particular thing, I've got this solution for you. Go do this. At least do this to figure out whether you want to go on this journey differently. You can continue down your path 100%. But if you want to go on a different journey, I'm going to challenge you to take action. And that action are these 3 things. Because if you don't take action, this is what the path looks like, right? And if you do take action, success looks like this, right? Team. Does that make sense? Can someone let me know what is making most sense out of all of that? Can someone unmute themselves?
I love it. I mean, I resonate with it completely. And I'm an executive coach. I make my money through businesses who hire me, and I'm look, and I work with teams. I actually work with teams in the pharmaceutical business, in the industry. So drug development teams, those kinds of folks. Um, and I'm pivoting my business so that I will target the middle layer of an organization. So people in the middle who normally would not be given me as a coach. And, for them, the villain is the company and their boss and the team leader who doesn't do a good job of leading the team, and the lack of clarity in the organization. And one
So,
of the,
Mary,
yeah,
can I ask a couple of follow-up questions? It might
sure.
be useful. So these people, I want to be clear about picking the villain, because if you pick that villain, does that create more problems for your audience that they don't want to deal with? For example, like if they're seeing a line with you, then and you're saying that their company and their culture is broken, then does that harm them in some way, or are you looking to solve that problem by placing them somewhere else or something like that? How does that work?
No, I'm looking to solve that problem by empowering them. So, taking ownership of their career instead of, waiting or complaining or not knowing what to do. I do a lot of work with senior executives on understanding the crazy people around them and figuring out how to influence them. And so the younger folks that I've been working with, they have a lot of influencing to do, and they just don't really know how to do it. So these are I'm expecting it'll be a lot of very assertive people, people who are frustrated that they haven't gotten promoted, but they don't know how to advocate for themselves. They don't know how to talk about their value to the business as opposed to the list of tasks.
Got
So
it.
there are a lot of
So
different things within that group.
So great. I love it on so many different levels, because I agree with you 100% that there's the the next generation have so many decisions to make, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, right now, the way it's going down is, if the decision is hard, it's like, let me wash my hands and walk away from the situation, is the general vibe of how that normally goes down in normal situations. So what I would like you to think about is, if the villain was institutions, like, is there institutional training, right? So they've gone to college and they've been institutionalized in a certain way, and that's what they know. That's they like,
Yeah.
someone told them that that's the path, and it's so much has changed, and let me show you how much has changed and how to do it now. Does that
Yeah, because
land?
we actually don't learn how to be influential when we're going through school. We focus on our grades and not our power. So
100%.
I see this. I have never seen this particular way of framing it, but makes perfect sense to me.
Amazing. I'm so glad. So let's do some work, and let's fill out this form. Let's fill out this template, right?
Oh, one
Um,
question I have:
please.
what in the top of what I want, is that along the lines of what you want to create? What would
Yeah.
be amazing?
Let's do that together. Let's all work on this worksheet together. Um,
Can
all
I
right.
ask, what does a philosophical wrong mean?
Yep. So philosophical wrong is a bigger wrong. So we'll go through each of these boxes in detail. So I just gave you a breakdown of what the whole thing is. Let's go through each of these boxes. So team, please go to your worksheets, and page 24 is what you're looking for. And we're going to start with just the first box. We're not going to worry about anything else right now. All right. And these are your people, your audience, right? And there's another way to think about who these people are is, who do you want to influence? Okay. So when you're thinking about those people, here is what I'd like you to write in the first box is, what do they want? Right? What do these people want? So for example, in Karen's case, they probably want certain symptoms to not reoccur or not happen, not have to deal with certain symptoms every day. Maybe if they could get respite from like one of those symptoms, it'd be like amazing. So those are the things I'd like you to write in this first box. So what do this audience of yours want fixed right now? What are the problems they want to fix right now? In Mary's case, it would be someone that is thinking, I'm just don't want to do this thing over and over again. I'm done. I'm way more valuable than that. And there must be a better way, right? Karen, when you're talking about these things, so just for everyone in here, energy, free from concern, confidence, guidance, those are all very vague. I want to be very specific in these 9 spots that you have here. So what kind of energy, like what does that look like in the sense that what does that look like for them to like, how are they noticing that they don't have energy? Making sense? Say, yeah, Karen, you can unmute.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't
You
know
can
whether to
talk.
unmute or not. Yeah, thank you. That's a really great way. It's subjective, isn't it, saying energy? I suppose what they want to do is to be able to get through a whole day, to keep their job, to be able to have a relationship and, you know, stay awake when their kids go to bed so that they're not going to bed at the same time.
All those things.
Yeah.
All those things. Those are the things you're writing in there. So everyone, please use that as an example. Those are things that they're dealing with every day that they can go, fuck, I don't want to deal with that shit. That's can I stop? Can this stop, please? So does that help everyone? Thank you, Karen, for that example. So I'm going to give everyone here maybe a couple of minutes, maybe even more, because if you can sort out this first box, I promise you everything else is going to be swimming downstream as opposed to upstream. Okay, so maybe a couple of minutes to fill out your 9 things that your audience wants. Okay, Tiago, some music would be great. Thank you. Can I help and workshop hot seat someone maybe really quickly if anyone's struggling or needs help?
Hey, Ronsley. Yeah, this is Tony. I am a little bit.
Hey, Tony, let's talk.
Yeah. As we said in the breakout group, my niche, for those that didn't hear, I'm in law enforcement. And my audience are first responders or more particular, police officers. And just based on the conversation we had during the breakout, I'm trying to think along those lines. As far as the uplifting, and I think all of that uplifting will come from being appreciated. They want to be appreciated.
So let's be more specific, Tony. So what are they dealing with every day that they wish they didn't have to deal with?
Being viewed as the enemy.
Yeah. So that's probably line one. And how does that manifest, right? What happens is as a result of being viewed as the enemy? Like, how does that manifest in other ways? So do they want, so some people would say that doesn't bother me. Some people it would actually bother them, and they would spend more energy trying to convince other people that it didn't bother them. Right.
Mhm.
So what are they doing to mask that, and how is that showing up? Like, what is actually happening is an example that I want you to kind of, can you place what I'm talking about? Can you
Yeah,
give us an example?
I would say one of the things is probably isolating themselves more. And they're not, they're putting up that wall and making the barrier even tougher to break through, to stop being seen as the enemy. And they're putting up a defense, and they're trying to convince people that they're not what the perception is that's out there. And that's becoming very frustrating. And that frustration is coming out in all type of mental well-being issues, such as stress, issues at home.
That's what I
issues.
want. That's what I want. What are the ways it's coming out as stress and things at home? What are those things? Those are your 9 things.
Okay.
What is happening? Are they screaming at their kids like out of for no reason? And suddenly like they're going, fuck, where did that come from? Or something like very specific, like, and they don't want that to happen anymore. But they have no, like, they're like, holy shit, that just happened. You know what I mean?
Yes. Thank you. That helps.
Amazing. Thank you for doing this. That's great. All right, team. Is this part, the first box there, is very specific about relating to where they're at right now, because you can empathize with them, right? You start there, you kind of go, I understand you because this is what's happening. This is where you're at. For example, let's talk about We Are Members as an example. And this is a thing that we've done for ourselves, is like, what are we trying to achieve? We're trying to achieve a space where people can express themselves freely as who they are and be compensated for what they do. That's our mission. Quite simply, if you want to break it down, you can say all the great mission statements and value statements and all that kind of stuff. But if you want to break it down, we want to create a bunch of people that can actually be brave enough to use their voice for good. Because when they use their voice for good, here's the thing, I don't think we even realize the kind of space we're playing in right now. I don't think we realize that our ancestors did not get the opportunity to say whatever they wanted to say when they wanted to say it. I don't think we realize this opportunity that we have to actually make change and say things. The problem is that while we were growing up and we were being taught stuff, whether it was in school or whether it was in other spaces, if we disagreed with the status quo, we were told to shut up. So anytime we disagree, we feel like we have to disagree with a bunch of people, we think that we're not meant to say it. But more than ever nowadays, if you look at how important voices are and how important, like, I mean, Instagram influencers are a thing. Like, these people they don't have no value, but they just put out, it's a thing. It's a crazy thing, but it's a thing that is part of our time right now. And we want to differentiate from those people, right? So we gotta, like, can I be any more clear on that first box? Because that's like probably the most important box of everything. Fantastic, Karen. That was really good message to get day one before the first session was done. So thank you. I'm glad something's working. Okay. All right, team. So let's go to the next box. All right. So now these people are dealing with all these problems, but there's this villain. Now, there couldn't be a better example than Karen with pharmaceuticals, or if it is a pharmaceutical industry. I just made that up, and I could be wrong. But when you think about health and you think about like what people are trying to affect change, and they always have this this thing they disagree with, right? So who is the villain in your scenario? And maybe we can workshop this with a couple of people so that we can all understand what we mean by villain. So who would like to workshop their villain with me? Brett Scott.
What the? I think I just touched my glasses.
It's
However,
because you're so good looking, I think we should spotlight you for a while.
wow, I appreciate that comment. That we've got this recorded, haven't we? Yes, awesome.
Yes.
So, the villain. I'd like a bit of clarity on this. Yeah, I think that's probably the one. The other boxes I was busily filling in, which was great. Getting the clarity on that.
So let's talk about who your
this
people
one.
are and what do they want, Brett, and then we'll come to villain.
So they're people who are feeling lost, feeling like a lack of purpose, feeling like they don't have a voice, and trying to find their way, and sometimes not even realizing what's wrong and trying to figure out what they're doing wrong or what is wrong inside. And oftentimes just treating the surface issues rather than getting deep into what's really going wrong. So they're the kind of people that I work with.
I know you can't see me because my video just shut itself off.
Okay.
Bear with me for a second before the video comes back, but I'm gonna talk anyway.
Okay, go for it.
So I'm after specific stuff, Brett. When you think about your people, right? I know you're talking about all these things that they're dealing with, which is hard to market to. But who are they? Are they traditionally business owners? Are they like not business? Are they executives? Are they men? Are they like who are they?
They're a mixture of men and women, and predominantly they either have a business or they're a high level corporate, and otherwise they're usually doing. The thing is, and this was similar to me, that they've got success in their life, but they don't think they are. They think they've missed something. There's something missing. And so they're working usually within a business or within a company. And
so how do they get to that point? Like what's caused them to get to that point? And how are they trying to fix it?
So I think what I recognize and what I notice is people get to a frustrated point. They get to a point where they're just like, they don't quite know what's wrong, but they know something's wrong because they're feeling a bit disconnected from work, disconnected from their family, and they're trying to figure out what's wrong. And so usually I find like a lot of my businesses come through organic engagement via Facebook or Instagram. And so usually it's me talking about the vulnerable things that I've had to go through. And I know this isn't helping you. So
Brett, you're not answering the question because I don't think that I feel that this is going to be dude, if you can, I promise you, if you can spend like an hour and going deep to getting these answers like specific, because right now you're being very vague. Like if I gave you a plane full of your ideal clients, you would not be able to land them because they would be like, I mean, this is just generic. Like, I feel disconnected at times. What does that mean? Right? I feel that these things are not happening at times, but that, like, you know what I mean? It's very general. And I'm really after you kind of going, how does that show up? Like, are you having fights with the partner in a way that is very specific? Is something happening where there's constant maybe cash flow issues? I don't know. I'm being very specific of what those first boxes need to be, and it can't be, oh, you feel disconnected. Like, that's very vague. It's super hard to like go, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. I know what you're saying. And maybe I haven't figured that out properly, or not maybe, I haven't figured that out properly, but
that's why it's hard for you to, that's why it's hard. Sorry, go Brett. I apologize.
I was going to give you some thoughts, which was, it's that they're definitely just getting by. No matter how much money they earn, it's gone, and they can't quite get ahead. And so they're stuck thinking, why do I keep making these self-sabotaging situations? Why do they keep coming up for me? Why do I keep fucking up?
So I want you to be less general about all that and be specific. What are the situations that are self-sabotaging, right? And that's why it's hard for you to come up with the villain. But I want to move on, and I'd like you to spend. This is your everything right now, because you're spending so much time on your relaunch of the brand. That's why I picked you, because you mentioned that. I don't know when. I can't remember how I know that, but I know that. So the villain, when you figure out who your people are, you know who's fucking with them. Right? There's a bunch of people that are fucking with them. And this is going to be probably your hardest part, Brett, because you want everyone to like you. Maybe there's an element of that. Everyone wants everyone to like them. And there's going to be, you'll have to draw a line in the sand and say, hey, these people, because it's not these guys' fault, because, and it doesn't have to be a person, right? It can be a progression. It can be, or you just thought that this was the plan, do this and then do that and then do this, and then it would equal happiness. But it's been told to us by the media. Like, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to declare war on someone. When I'm talking about the villain, I'm just saying we've got to draw a line to so that create contrast. Making sense?
Yep. It is. Yeah.
Okay.
It is. I
Cool.
appreciate it.
Cool. Thanks, Brett. Thanks for playing. All right. So that villain creates an external problem. It stirs up an external problem. So what I'm talking about there is like these people, who you want to influence, they want. Let me use Brett as an example from what I can perceive. It's not exactly Brett, but I'm just going to like use a general sort of coaching idea there. So people probably, what are they after? They want to have more deep and meaningful relationships. They want to have better business deals. They want to have, great, meaningful experiences, maybe exclusive things that not other people can achieve. They want to probably do those kind of things. That's what they want. But there's this villain, because there's this villain who told us that if we went and got a degree and then got a job and worked really hard and got promotion, we would get to a point where we could have enough money saved up to retire so we can spend time with our family and go on holidays once a year, right? Now, we know that that has changed quite drastically. And the external problem that it generates is that we land up going on holidays or being late to things that our kids events, or we have this constant fight with our partner that keeps coming up over and over again. And there's the external, or there's no money in the bank, or there's the bills are pending. Those external problems are created that they can see every day. It comes up. Those are the three things I'd like you to write in that box. All right, team? That's the three things I'd like you to write in that box. We'll get to the internal part, Brett. That's not what that is. So that first box is exactly what they're after. Like they want to spend time with their kids and really be present with them. They want to be able to be invited to an exclusive retreat somewhere that only a few people get invited. I'm making stuff up, obviously, but I'm talking about what that first box of what they're after is, like, very specific, right? And then you come into the villain and the external problem, and you're being specific here about how it shows up in their life. You're dealing with these issues that I don't want you to deal with. Okay, that's the second box, or the external problem box. So that external problem stirs up an internal conflict. Now, the internal conflict is, I'm again using the same Brett example, is maybe they're in a corporate job and they've sort of done this thing and they want a new thing, and the internal conflict is, I've not been taught to take a risk. I know to stick to a plan, and I've done the plan. The plan's not working out, and I don't even know if I can trust myself. Can I do the next step? Those are all internal conflicts that supposedly maybe Brett's audience is dealing with. Rick, you have something to say? Rick, did you have a question? I saw you unmute your mic, so I just thought you had a question. Rick Willis. Maybe not.
No question, just playing with buttons.
Good for you. Thanks, Rick. All right. So your people, internal conflict, and it is just philosophically wrong. What's the big wrong in your people dealing with this situation, right? The big wrong, for example, in the situation I'm talking about with Brett, is the big wrong is that that audience probably thinks that they've got to live like this for the rest of their life, and they just think that that's just their life, and it's just philosophically wrong. That's not it. Does that make sense? Someone else asked about philosophically wrong before. Marilyn, maybe?
That does make sense. Yeah. That was definitely one of the big thoughts that I was going through back in the time before I had my change, before I had my transformation, was exactly that. Was maybe I should just be grateful for what I've got, and not keep going down that line of thinking that I could have the success that I felt like I was missing.
And Brett, you've got some people in that you work with as well who they're at the age where they've got their kids who are leaving home. So they've finally got the house back. They've got a successful business. They should have accumulated some assets and done pretty well financially. yet they're at the point where they're feeling like, I'm in the best times of my life, but I don't feel like I'm there. Like, that is another philosophical thing. Shouldn't you, once you have all that freedom again, shouldn't you feel free rather than feel trapped? Like, that to me is another philosophical wrong for your audience.
I love that. Thanks, James.
Thanks, Brett. Mary, you have a question?
Thinking about the philosophical wrong, in my scenario, if the villain is the company, the institution, their boss, the difficult people, and they have an external problem like lack of opportunity, inability to get approval, lack of work-life balance, they go through a lot of internal conflict. The philosophical wrong, would it be something like they actually think there is a company?
No.
And that they don't have the power?
Well, it's really important, Mary, in this whole scenario that we don't paint them to be a victim entirely, because then it doesn't empower them to take action on their own. So that when it comes down to challenging them to take action, then the bunch of people you have are like, well, the messaging, right? The messaging goes down, and it's like, oh yeah, I know those people are bad, and it becomes a whole bunch of people that resonate with that kind of marketing. And I just want to highlight that that's the way it's.
So you're talking
across,
about
like
the villain.
I'm talking about when you say to them, "This, are you dealing with these kind of things?" and you're being so specific about the villain, you're going after the villain, right? In that way, you kind of say to them, you kind of ask them questions of the external problems that they're dealing with are problems like not necessarily that they're not getting their way. Maybe the problems they're dealing with is they feel like they can give more. They feel like they can do better in a certain thing, as opposed to what the negative is. Like, what is the?
So flipping it into a positive for them.
I mean, not always. I'm just saying, like, have a few that go the other way, have a few that go that way. And the philosophical wrong maybe is that they, why do you believe, Mary, maybe I'm not the person to answer this, why do you believe that they don't have to live with that?
Because if they become more skillful in advocating for themselves, if they pay attention to people and understand them and are more influential with the people, they will get more of what they're looking for. And so I was thinking, the philosophical wrong, is it a philosophy that they have that's not correct?
Yeah, it could be that the world has an interpretation of that philosophy that they've believed their whole life, and now you're challenging them that maybe
Right.
this is not wrong. You're poking holes in it. That's the philosophical
Right.
wrong there.
So I guess maybe
Makes
it's
sense.
that they're not in control. Is the wrong,
Yeah.
the wrong way to think, that you're not in control. You are in control of
100
yourself.
Brilliant. That's the philosophical wrong, because you believe that your people can have the control that they're after.
Or more personal power in it, maybe not control.
Yeah,
Control
I was just thinking that.
themselves.
Yeah, I was just thinking control is a hard thing to sell, and a hard thing in general, control. But yeah, personal power and actually what those opportunities might look like is also valuable, right?
Mhm,
Can you get them to imagine themselves in the future
mhm,
in those shoes,
mhm,
right?
mhm. Great, thanks.
Thanks, Mary. All right, team. Steve is here, so I'm going to rush through these next few bits, but let's talk about. So we've got the audience. We know what they want. We know the villain creates there's a villain that creates an external problem, which stirs up an internal conflict that has a philosophical wrong. Yeah, we know that. Now they meet a guide. So this literally is your name. Just write the name here. We don't need anything specific that is fancy. This is who you are. You're the guide. Now, as a guide, how can you empathize with them in a way that they understand that you get the situation they're in? That's what I would like you to write in that box. What can you say to them that when they hear it, they understand that you know the situation they are in right now? Anyone struggling? Michael, Britt?
I don't think I'm struggling. I think my villain is the one that I keep going back to because I don't know if you remember, it's my podcast is Zero Waste Trash Talk. And throughout the last year, it's become evident that going zero waste is actually impossible. And even if you're good at it, the recycling system is purposely set up to fail. So I've come on this long journey and taken some of our listeners and our friends on this. So I feel like the villain now is either misinformation or a broken system. And so which problem am I solving? Did you ask me just now? So I'm sorry.
No, I think they both go hand in glove. I think
Okay.
that villain is like misinformation is probably caused by the system, or right. So,
so the empathy, that's what you're asking, right?
Correct. The empathy. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, the empathy is I've gone through this journey. I live a very sustainable lifestyle, but I'm not a zero. I can't achieve or don't pretend to achieve zero waste, where you have to live in a yurt and make your own deodorant or whatever. So it's so that empathy is I've gone down all these experimental routes and lifestyle routes, and so is my co-host, and we're talking our way through what we've learned on this journey. So I think that's the empathy, right? That I share what we've done and we can empathize because we're there.
That would be brilliant for the demonstrating authority piece, because the authority means that you've been there and done that. So in one of those 6 boxes or 6 dot points on the next box, that's where you write, we've had X amount of conversations with so many people, or we've helped these people go waste free, or whatever that is. Now, if I go back to expressing empathy, it's like, do you feel like every time you do something to be more sustainable, it's being reversed in some other way, or something to that effect, where they kind of go, oh yeah, like this every day when I'm separating the plastics, I'm going, fuck, is this worth it? Right. Like, you know what I mean? Like, for example, my wife literally goes into neighbors' bins and separates their thing, and we've got really good friends at Pila who are trying to make like their dent on the planet by going waste free and all that kind of stuff. And it's like it's like I understand what you're trying to achieve, and it's a great mission because it's super important and it's really, really valuable. So if you can tell them the kind of like, I know this is what's happening to you, they're going, oh fuck, Michael understands, let's listen to the next part. And then you can say, okay, by the way, this is what we've done. Once you can say, this is how I understand you, this is what we've done next. Does that make sense?
It does. And actually, I'm not rebranding, but we're kind of rebooting a little after some, ups and downs. But when we say zero waste trash talk, I'm almost inclined to be talking trash about zero waste as well right now. Just about don't like this whole militant idea of it. and judgmental and shaming and all that. It's all just a distraction from some of the bigger cause. So that's what I'm struggling with, is how to bring people along and empathize without telling them it's all broken. You know, like for me personally, I think I'm done with the plastic recycling because I don't want my plastic to end up in a third world country. I would rather know it's buried in landfill here in Nashville. So I'll recycle everything else, but I think I'm done with plastic because it doesn't work. So
Right. Yeah.
So it's tough in my position as a host, right?
No, I mean, I think you draw your lines, right? And you say, this is what I stand for. And there'll be people that will kind of go, this is the way that I can make a difference, and they'll start following you, right? And that's why I think it's important to draw those lines. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, I think that it's a big piece, and you can differentiate yourself by actually saying, this is what I believe. Right. But I really, for everyone on here, thank you, Michael, for helping. But everyone on here, when they come and they meet the guide, it's really important that you express empathy first before you demonstrate authority, before you start saying, this is who I am and this is how I've dealt with, and that's why I'm expressing empathy, because that's not the way to express empathy. And we've been taught to express empathy that way because, I mean, marketing out in the social world is like that, right? So instead of that, flip it around so you can express empathy first and then say, oh, by the way, I understand you, and then here's why it's important for you to continue listening, because I've done this and this is how I can help, and this is the results I've achieved, and these are the things, and those are the things, this is my book, or whatever else comes in the authority piece. Make sense? Cool. All right, team. So you have your people that have a villain that creates an external problem, which stirs up an internal conflict that has a philosophical wrong, and they meet a guide, which is you, who expresses empathy and then demonstrates authority, and they have a plan. Now, for all of you here in the next minute, I literally want you to have a plan. You might say, Ronsley, I don't have a 5-step plan. Make a 5-step plan up. Like, first, my people who have all these problems, I'm going to do this for them first. The next step is this. The third step is that. The fourth step is this. It doesn't have to be 5 steps. It can be 3 steps. But what is the plan? So you have their attention. You have, they express, you've expressed empathy where they're kind of going, I want to know more. So now you have their attention. You want to be able to switch off their lizard brain that is asking the question, does this person know what they're doing? And everyone these days can express authority. I've done all these things, right? So once you say all those things, it's really important for you to say, I have a plan, and this is the plan because it's worked every single time when I've done it this way, right? So that's what goes in the next box. Following that, I challenge you to take 3 actions. Now, your 3 actions can be your lead magnets, can be listening to a specific episode on your podcast, can be a way for you to kind of get them to take action, or you can get them to write something down in a way that they can share it. Something that moves them along where they can go, oh, I see myself in this future version of myself that you've painted the picture for me. Am I making sense, team? Yeah? Rick, Katharina, Tony?
Say that again.
I knew I lost people. What did I say? I forgot what I said. Mike, what did you catch?
So challenge you to take action. So we write down 3 things.
Yeah. So what I'm after is in those boxes that you challenge them to take action. You get them to engage with your brand in a certain way, right? So you're getting them, yeah. So whatever that means, like Steve Olsher, for example, is go get Podcast Magazine subscription, right? That's a great way to kind of challenge them to take action. So they engage with your brand, and you've got their attention in a way that you're kind of going, I have a plan, and your first step or your second step or your third step are these 3 things. Got it? Amazing. And if they don't go down that path, they are vulnerable to risk, as in what happens if they don't go down this path and they keep doing what they're doing currently, right? That goes in that second last box. And then the last one is paint a picture of what success looks like for them, right? Get them now to imagine themselves in the future in the shoes that you want them to fill. Okay? Team, how are we going with that sheet, that worksheet? Is there any questions that I can answer before I hand it back to James and then we hear from Steve? I told you I wasn't loved as a kid.
I thought it was a good presentation. It was actually, I actually messaged my counselor and asked if I could shorten my appointment to the break so I could stay on this call. So you did an excellent job.
Thank you. I love like that. All right, team. Thank you for your attention. I really appreciate it. Thanks for playing. James, you're up.